the cash positions to be able to sort of offer these really, really low prices. So a couple of years back, when there was a lot of money coming in from Asia, right? A lot of these Asian leasing companies were basically offering rock bottom, rent prices on these airplanes because they needed to deploy capital. And everybody on the North American side, and some of the Irish leasing companies just couldn't follow through. So all of a sudden they weren't placing airplanes. They needed to do PDP payments, and at one point the cash runs out and you just can't continue your business. So I think cash and the access to capital is probably the most important thing when it comes to leasing, and that could probably make or break a leasing company.
So you hear it's probably some great stories about repossessions and things like that you read about. And that, how often does that happen, where a customer defaults and you need to go and repossess the airplane?
All right. So first of all, those repo shows that you see on like Discovery Channel and stuff like that, it's a lot of clever television and stuff like that, more to get people excited.
It's as exciting as the Aeropedia podcast, isn't it?
Yes. Just as exciting as the Aeropedia podcast, correct? I've got a couple of customers that have defaulted on payments, but it's nothing as sexy as showing up at an airport, and running around the airfield and jumping on the airplane and then taking off with it and stuff. There's a whole process around it, right? There's a whole process around default. And most companies, like I've had one customer default on payments, right? And we just came to terms on, a point in time where they were just going to return the aircraft back to us. And we came to an understanding on monies due and stuff like that, and how to work through that process. I've never been involved in a television style repo. I do have a friend of mine in business aviation. I think business aviation works a little bit different than commercial, and he's had one of those repos where he showed up at the airport, legal documents in hand, sequestered everybody to a room. Pilots came in and they flew away with the asset. On our side, things are very, very orderly. We usually issue default notices. If they don't pay, then we'll get the lawyers involved, and we'll issue some grounding undertakings to make sure that they can't fly the aircraft anymore. And then once we've gone and we're ready to issue grounding undertakings, then we need to have the team around us ready to go to show up at the airport and make sure that we take control of the asset, right? The important thing with an aircraft sitting on the ground is, of course, the high value parts, engines, and everything else that they can take easily away from the airplane. And most importantly, the records, okay? All the records, the paper records, all the paper trail, all the maintenance history, all that there, right, needs to be you need to grab that immediately and put it in the aircraft and make sure nobody gets to it. Because without those boxes, without all that traceability, your airplane is worthless. You can't sell it. You can't do anything with it.
Tony, one of the things here is that, it's a very niche space, commercial aviation, right? We don't really see this stuff happening on the leasing front with business aviation or general aviation. Is that just purely cash and cost of capital?